Welcome to How to Teach Syllables, Putting the Pieces Together. We're going to look at how you put all the pieces together, where you flip to in the book, and what you use, and how to have all your games and materials prepared. It's going to be a physical look at what you need to do to successfully teach the Syllables Spell Success program to either one child or a whole group, or older adults as well. I've been successful with all ages. You need to start with a test before Lesson 1. If you're teaching a group of students, make sure you keep the other students occupied. A good way is to have them color in these charts. They'll be referring to them often, and it'll help them learn some of the sounds while coloring them in and keeping them occupied. And this is a progress sheet that you can record all the tests on. And the first test that you want to do is the quick screen reading grade level test. You'll need 2 copies, one for you and one for student. If you have more than one student, you need 1 copy per student and then 1 for the student to read. And you also need to do the MWIA. I like the short versions for a large class. And you're going to read and time both ones separately. And again, you need 2 copies per student. You need 1 for you and 1 for each student. And the nonsense word test. This one's a real quick test, but it's going to be a good baseline for the nonsense words later on. And there's 3 different versions. You can do 1 before and 1 after, each of 25 nonsense words. Let's start with Lesson 1. You're going to want to make sure each student has one of these handy when you're sending out words. And if you have younger students or students whose native language is not English, you might want to make copies of the Blend Phonics Reader for them to use instead of the Blend Phonics nonsense words that go with either the book or the folder. Here's the book, and if you look at the contents, this is the overall plan for each lesson and the page number. And these page numbers here refer to the Blend Phonics Reader, which is not in the book. You have to print that separately if you want a regular Blend Phonics Reader. Everything else, the page numbers, are in the book. Alright, so you're going to watch video 1, and then it's going to tell you to pause, and it's going to tell you where to go to. And this shows you the page. The Blend Phonics, it's on page 3. And you go down here, and whatever it tells you to do, you do. And then the readings are here. Unit 1 is number 1, Unit 2 is number 2, Unit 3 is number 3. And these corresponding words in the Blend Phonics Reader match up. And if you have another version of Don Potter, then the page numbers won't match, but you can still use it and you can find them easily. All you do is it's going to tell you which unit, Unit 1, and you just go and find Unit 1 in the book. But the page numbers match up to the 2007 version that I have linked. And Don's newer versions are great and are improvements, but this one is a nice short version that's easily identifiable page numbers for work with this Syllable Spell Success program. As you can see here, Unit 1 is short A, and Unit 2 is short I, and the same thing with the nonsense words, short A and short I. The next thing is the spelling rules. They're just there for reference. They don't have to memorize them, but it's good for them to learn them and have them to refer to later. And then the next thing is syllable division exercise. And it depends what page they're on if they're going to do regular words or nonsense words. The nonsense words are on page 9 and the regular words are on page 11. So in the book here, again, this is the book, or you can print your own book or print your own each document separately. And you go, and they're doing syllable division exercise 1. And here they are with nonsense words. You have the students draw a line between the pencil and then send them out. And that's on page 9. And on page 11, you have regular words. And some of your younger students or students whose native language is not English might do better with the real words. But for students that are having a hard time guessing and remedial students, the nonsense words are really good for helping them to sound out every word from left to right. All right. And the next thing are all blend phonics, which we've already seen how to do. And then again, some more spelling review rules. Those are for reference only. And then syllable division exercise 2, again, page 9 and 11. And there's an optional Hebrews that you can print if you're using it with a church group. At the end of lesson 1, you've gone through the first 13 units of blend phonics. Therefore, when you play the concentration game, you're going to get out your cards. I like to separate them out in advance, all in one big thing, with it written what units each are. These are 30 to 34, so we don't need those yet. Those are 14 to 29. And here I've already sorted. I took out everything that's up to 13. Blend phonics 13. And you take a 1 and a 2, and you flip them around, and you play with just the sounds that they've learned so far. And then at the very end, I like to play with either Scrabble or magnetic letters. Make sure you have everything you need, all the folders and tests and letters. My Scrabble letters are somewhere still recovering from the move. And you keep 2 different bins, and that's a really good and cleanup game. And if you're doing with a single student, you can give them maybe a dozen or so letters, making sure that it's only sounds they've learned so far, and see how many words they can build in 1 minute.
Lesson 2. Again, you start with blend phonics, but this time it's going to be on page 4, the next page.
And you can also use, again, your separate blend phonics reader. And when you're sounding it out, if the students are having trouble, you can have them look it up on this chart and help them look it up, and then each sound. For example, if they're sounding out the word pat, they find p, and then they find a, and then they find t. At the end of lesson 2, you've gone through blend phonics unit 20. You take your cards and you make sure you're using the first 13 plus. I have this sorted into both groups for a class that was doing a couple at a time with a break between, but you could sort out and make sure you have only the ones that are up to 20 and then have them play with those. Lesson 3, again, blend phonics and syllable division. You look them up either in the book here for the nonsense words or in your separate copy of blend phonics reader for your students that might need real words. Lesson 4, all the way through 38, and you're going to add in a few more blend phonics cards. Lesson 5, again, blend phonics and syllable division, and that is all the cards. And so you're going to have them all together in one big pile, and you can just leave them loose in the bags from that point on.
Lesson 7. We'll be doing more Webster and also the language worksheets.
The language worksheet that you're doing, it's on page 14. And this is a really fun one. Even young students with some help can make some cool Greek words with a little bit of help. If they can't write very well, they can help pick them out and you can write for them. Make sure everybody makes at least 2. Greek is actually really easy once you learn the sound exceptions, such as the CH is K and PH is F. Then, after lesson 6, first time for the bingo game. I'll have to get those out.
Every student is going to need this one-page master sheet.
So they don't get confused, what you can do, since you're going to be doing Greek list 1 first, is you can fold it over so that that's all that's showing. And a volunteer is going to have one of these 2. And they're going to just randomly pick one of these words and put a little check after they've used it. And they're going to call it out, and then as soon as they're going to find it on their card, you cut these out. Each student will have one card. And while the students are finding it, some of the volunteers can use this other sheet, and it's also in the book. And they can say, they can throw out, if you're using the root astron, they can they can say asterisk, that little mark, or astronomy, the science of stars in the universe. And if you don't like their definition, you can improve on it and use your own. During each game time, or just after the lesson, if you're working with a single student, you're going to want to do some nonsense word fluency tracking. It'll help you see your students' progress, and it's also a really good way to help suppress the guessing. And you're going to do, the list of words are here in the book. The class words, I'll find them and flip to that. There's a list showing where everything is, and then on the next page, it shows what page is everything for the lesson. So from this page, I want the nonsense words for fluency tracking. Page 62. I'll flip to that. And after lesson 1, you're going to have the students read at least the first 2. Try to do at least the 1 and if possible 2. And then you're going to chart their accuracy for each student. You're going to print out one of these, and you're going to write down how long it takes and how many words they got correct. And then you can chart, like the next page is shown here. It's going to show, hopefully, an improvement in both their accuracy and speed. But focus on accuracy. That's more important. Speed will come with time and accurate practice. Lesson 8. You can do more Webster and a new language worksheet. The language worksheet is on page 15. Flip to that. And this one is a little trickier. Some of the younger students might need a lot of help with it, and you might just want them to have them read a few of the easier words like nation. And the older students are going to be reading a few of the words and also figuring out the part of speech. And they're explained here. There's actually more parts of speech than that, but they're going to be one of these 4 so that there's not as many to confuse them with, because a lot of them are going to be lacking in grammar background as well as reading. Okay, lesson 9. You're going to do the last few language worksheets. And these are some really good ones. It's going to strengthen their writing and get them to understand how English language comes together from a bunch of different languages. So we'll turn to those. This first one, up above, it helps you figure out the hints for each kind. And if the students are having trouble, you can help them figure it out. And there's answers in the teacher section on my Syllable Spell Success page. And the language origin worksheet challenge, this is where they're going to pick words from here, and then on the next page, they're going to write their sentences. And if you want, you can provide them with a separate sheet of paper so that they don't have to keep flipping back and forth. And the master list for bingo is also here in the book, but it's more handy to have it on a separate sheet.
Finally, lesson 10.
You're going to be doing Webster tables, and also, if you're not having a separate session for it, the final testing. And these tables, page 47 and 48, they can be really hard for a younger student, but have everybody try at least one word with generous help, and then you can go back to easier tables. Here they are, the final words, 12th grade level words, 7 syllables.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you put all the pieces together and understand how it works to teach the Syllables course. But if not, ask any questions in the comments below.